now declare the meeting open, and every one of the council members is in attendance, and I would like to make special reference to our youth member, Olivia Bernath, the young lady sitting on our right here that most of you may not know, but she's our youth rep for the next term council. I would ask if there's any conflicts of interest amongst the council members on tonight's agenda. No, thank you very much. Looking for the adoption of the published agenda for Monday, October the 6th, 2014, regular council meeting. Councillor Baker, Councillor Bowman, with an addition. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Any others?
Through your worship, I have the addition of amended bylaw 1351.
Any others? Thank you very much. All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. August 25th, 2014, special council meeting. Councillor Scott, Councillor Bondi, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. The August 25th, 2014 special council meeting. Councillor Scott, Councillor Bowman, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. C, August 25th, 2014 special council meeting. Deputy Mayor Malash, supported by Councillor Bondi. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. September the 15th regular council meeting, 2014. Councillor Vokes, Councillor Scott, any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. September the 15th special council meeting. Moved by Councillor Vokes, supported by Deputy Mayor Malash. Any questions? All in favor of the motion? Motion carries. September the 16th, 2014 special council meeting. Consideration of report meeting. Oh, that should have been September the 15th also. Okay. Councillor Baker, supported by Councillor Vokes. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. September 16th, okay? 2014 special council meeting, consideration of report meeting. Councillor Scott, Deputy Mayor Malash, any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. Public presentations. Nope. Okay. September the 16th, 2014 special council meeting, consideration of report meeting. Councillor Bowman, supported by Councillor Scott. Any questions? All in favor? Motion carries. D, the Essex Flood Control Committee, spokespersons Renee Rupert and David Cassidy. Recent flooding in Essex. Welcome, and right front and center, David.
I'd really like to just thank everybody for coming. This shows that we're all here to, not only for ourselves, but to support each other. And it's a really good turnout, and I'm really pleased with that turnout. Thank you very much. To start, through your worship, myself, Renee Rupert, and Dave Cassidy, we're both Essex residents. We'll take this time to address Town Council about the recent flooding in Essex. We're here on behalf of the people sitting in chambers, on behalf of those who couldn't be here, and on behalf of those who chose not to come because they're angry, disappointed, and simply fed up and without hope that anything will get accomplished. The day after the heavy rainfall, and for 2 weeks thereafter, the weather was beautiful. It really couldn't have been any better. I was walking through the neighborhoods, and I feared, out of sight, out of mind, easily forgotten. We are here to let you not forget what happened. If you don't forget, you remain empathetic and hopefully want to continue to strive for the change Essex needs. I just want to take a little bit of time to make this a bit personal so you understand fully the aftermath of what happened that day in the homes of so many people. Keep in mind that the homes not affected either have been affected by flooding in the past or will be affected in the future if nothing is done to rectify this problem we are having. So I've just compiled a few pictures to give you a sense of what homeowners had to deal with. I'm not quite sure how they'll turn out, but I don't know all the streets, but I know this one. This was Kingsway. I live on Kingsway. This is somebody's basement. That's the drainage, water coming up faster than it's going out. Again, somebody's basement. That's hard to see. That's a new subdivision, I believe. I believe that's in the Eiler area. Another basement. That's our neighbors. That's the fecal matter that's left over after the water drains. Again, somebody's shower. This is the aftermath. I had a couple of videos, I guess maybe they didn't come up, I'm not sure. I really wanted you to see the one where it's coming right out of the toilet. There was a couple of those that were sent to me. That's okay, we'll pass on that. Okay. This is somebody's toilet that the water is just pouring through, and they're going through their basement. That's their shower. They had about 2.5 feet of water, and then the rest of their basement. You can't see it, but the water is literally, I mean, they basically sat out in their garage and just let it come because there's nothing that they could do. And then I had one more. It's okay if you don't have it, Dave. And this is a young couple's basement as well. This will take a second to come in. And you can see them, they're he's saying in it that it's coming in faster than it's going out. All right, you guys are all aware. You guys all went through it. I just wanted council to kind of remember what happened that day, especially if you didn't experience it yourself. Here are just a few areas hit by the last heavy rainfall, but it's not limited to. I do have some that have signed on another piece of paper when coming in here. I don't have all their streets down. Gallows, which is a new subdivision. Eiler, about 10 homes in the 200 block that we know of. Victoria, Kingsway, about 10 homes. Queensway, Tully Meadows, about 35 homes. Fairview, Center at Victor, Arthur, Kimball Drive, Talbot, I spoke to Jim from County Printing, he got flooded. Wilson, I spoke to someone from Home Hardware, they were also flooded. Michael, Oak between Park and Woodview. Brock, 3 homes. Streets in McGregor. Thomas, Langtree, Park Lane, Townsview, Milne, Stanton, Earl Court, and Woodview. And there's more, I just don't have them all here. I now want to read some comments from citizens in the area. We live on Kimball Drive. Out of 25 townhomes, only 4 did not have sewage coming up their drain in the furnace room. We have had no issues until the 7 new homes were built this spring, summer. And there are more to be built. But please, don't allow any more building until someone figures this out. Our home has a sump pump, as well as a backup pump, and a check valve to prevent sewer backup. We have an expensive insurance claim and will not be able to get insurance again. Is the town of Essex going to pay my $2,000 deductible? Were the sewers not done properly? Were the town pumps not working? We all need answers and also action on this. No one should have to go through this. My basement got 16 inches of water just 1 week after I put new floors and 2 pianos down there. 3, I was contacted by a homeowner on Wilson, flooded basement as well. Not the first time, and flood insurance has been canceled, so they are forced to pay out of their pocket. We had not only flooding on Isler, but it came with raw sewage as well. 18 inches of water, approximately $6,500 in damage, not counting the water heater and furnace. I live on Isler. We had 9 inches. Everything is a total loss. They estimated damage at $40,000. I can't fix my basement until I know the town has fixed this problem. I can't get flood insurance anymore. The town won't do anything. This has been a problem for years and years. They keep building onto the same sewer system we had back in 1960. I get water through my back door every time there is a heavy rain. I've already put $6,000 into a drainage system around my store and a drainage system out back. But it doesn't help that there are only 12-inch sewer pipes out front to take on all this water. I am not happy that the town continues to say the sewer system is a good system and was working at full capacity, and that this is all due to the heavy rain we have been having. The town blames the downspouts as being a major contributor to what happened. Well, did you look at the new arena? The downspouts are connected right into the ground. 4-inch sewage in our basement in McGregor. I heard on the radio that the town of Kingsville is pumping $1.5 million into the Weigel area because homes have flooded 5 times. It's rumored that an engineering report deemed Essex sewer system inadequate. Is this true? And if so, how long ago? I have 2 more. Deputy Mayor Meloche stated in the Windsor Star today, when mentioning the flooding in McGregor, that an environmental assessment 10 years ago stated increased pumping capacity was needed to accommodate future growth. This was known 10 years ago? Why the holdup? If it's true Fairview is being repaved, are the sewers going to be replaced first? Chris Nepsey, who some may not know, I've never met him either, but he's sitting over there anyway. He's Director of Infrastructure. He states in the Essex Free Press that flooding is a regional issue, and in many cases there is little a municipality can do. These are words of defeat and so far from the truth. He says that what we saw last week is a rare occurrence. I have to disagree, since I have heard of many flooding issues that have been going on for years. He did say, the infrastructure of this region was not designed to handle the amount of rain that came down on Wednesday. That is simply the truth. He also says all 3 pumps at the pollution control facility were running at 100%. Of course they were. They should have been. It's running at 100% on a worn out, broken down old system. It no longer can do the job. He also states, pipes can only handle so much. This again is the truth. It's time to change the pipes. Mr. Nepsey sympathizes with those affected by the flooding. He states, it's hard. We don't want sympathy, we want something done. He's gathering information. He wants those affected by flooding to call. No problem, the people will call. They have called. But we want to know, what next? What is the next plan of action? Is there even a plan? We are now being advised to install backwater valves and to disconnect the downspouts from the drainage system. No problem, we can do that. What I want to know, what is the town going to do? What then is the town going to say when we flood again? People here are angry. They want answers. In order to get answers, they want information. They want to see the updates to our infrastructure. They want to know how the town can continue to build new homes without updating the old sewer system. They want to see the town's sewer plans. They want to know if the operators at the sewer plant were negligent. They want a breakdown on what happened at the plant the night of the flooding. They want to see the number of complaints about the recent flooding. They want to know, how has the town reached out to the victims of this latest flood? If there is a plan of action in place, they want to know about it. Mr. Mayor, Town Council, you know, and we know the town of Essex needs the necessary steps to update the sewer system. What we are asking is to get this flooding issue resolved. That's it for me.
Thank you very much, Renee. David, you have some comments?
Yes, thanks, Renee, for how you put it so, your presentation so eloquently. I'm a little rough around the edges, but, I just have a few things to say. I won't be long, and I'm hoping that, council will recognize the fact that there is a lot of people here tonight, and I know that there isn't a lot of people on the docket, but after I'm done and going through the few things that I have to say, I'm hoping that maybe somebody on our council will put a motion forward that they will allow others to give their story and maybe come with some resolve, et cetera, and maybe we can get that done. But I've looked at 6 different towns or cities across Canada with hopes that council and administration can take the best practices out of each of them and find a resolve to our issues here in Essex and put some plan together. I've looked at the city of Windsor, the city of Edmonton, the province of Saskatchewan, the county of Brant, the city of London, and the city of Kingston. And each of these have a different model. I know I sent, the day after the flood, I was out of town, but I sent an email off to the mayor, and I was glad that, I know it's an ad hoc in your personal research that you're doing, but there is some resolves that potentially could happen. I had an opportunity when I come back in to meet with the Director of Infrastructure, Chris Nepsky, and go through as to what actually happened on that night. And when I see how the sewer system works in town, so different than what the storm sewers are. The roads are designed to flood, we know that, and the water's designed, and the systems are designed to take that away. But because of global warming, et cetera, these days, I don't think it's going to change. I don't think for one bit that somebody's going to convince me that the weather that we have today and moving forward is going to change, and that the systems that we have in place will be any type of resolve. Mr. Nevsky also went on to tell me that the sanitary sewers, how they operate, it was news to me in my subdivision that I live in. They all get pumped over to behind the Ball Diamond, and from there down South Talbot over to in behind Viscount Estates, and then ultimately across to the sewage treatment plant. I don't know what that means. When I spoke to Mr. Nevsky, he didn't have a answer, and I know that he's gone to outside consultants along with other brainstorming to try to figure out what went wrong and why we did get sewer there. Every time it rains in this town, I get worried. I know I've flooded the last 4 times, the last 4 years, and I don't have house insurance, and it's a concern of a lot of residents in the town. There has to be a resolve to it. It's one thing when we're getting storm water back in, but now we're getting sanitary. One needs to question. So I mean, some of the resolves, I mean, just parlaying off what Renee said, you know, I'd like to actually see some type of a task force. I mean, the timing couldn't be any worse, though. I want to be honest with you, because there's going to be some people sitting around here that are elected that won't be elected moving forward, because we're in an election. And you know, with no disrespect to any of the council that's here, but truthfully, you're a lame duck council right now. There's no decisions that can be made that should be held accountable on this point. The good part about it is we do have administration that's not going to change. And so moving forward, the timing, as I said, is disappointing. But I would like to see some type of a task force struck up with Mr. Nepsky and his group, along with some other citizens, and hopefully, ultimately, once we get the election behind us, some members of council. I'd like to see that the town of Essex participate in the Insurance Bureau of Canada. It's a municipal risk assessment tool. MRAT protects against costly sewer backup damage to homes and businesses throughout the town. You know, when I was looking at the city of Windsor, and Renee touched on it, they do have the downspout disconnect, being voluntary or even mandatory, and funded by capital budgets. And any additional funding that the town or IRCA could look forward to, could look to provincially, potentially to help out with that. Another resolve could be, why did we get the sanitary back in our homes? I mean, there's the potential that we could smoke the drain systems to see if there's any cross connections in our town between the sanitary and the storm system. Something obviously went wrong. But by no means am I remotely any type of expert. I know the only thing that I know is every time it rains, my basement shouldn't be flooded. And neither should anybody else's. Every time we have a heavy rainfall, there's issues that go on. That was a big one that we had that night, and I'm hoping that we can get a solution to the flooding in the town of Essex. And I would hope that, you know, maybe council could put that motion forward, that we could have a discussion, a frank discussion around here, because I know that Mr. Nepsky is going to do some presentation to us, a public presentation, to explain some resolves potentially, but I'm really, really concerned at the fact that nothing is going to be done, because I know that, you know, people have talked about lawsuits, et cetera. Well, a lawsuit isn't going to do anything, because we're only suing ourselves as ratepayers. The facts of the matter are, there's a problem. We need to come to a fair and reasonable resolve. We need to put some brainstorming together, and hopefully we can resolve this problem in the town of Essex. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. You're all finished, but don't leave, because there may be questions that you may want to ask administration of after, and, you know, council may have a question or two also for you people. So at this time, I'd just like to turn it over to our CAO, Russ Nepsy, or sorry, I got half Russ and half Chris here. But then Russ Phillips, our CAO, to get our administrative, you know, perspective on this.
Thank you, through you, Your Worship. Thank you for coming this evening. Excuse me, I have a bit of a cold, and I'll do my best to get a few points across. Certainly appreciate the presentations made this evening. We hear you very clearly. We hear your concern and your anger. I want to assure the citizens, both here this evening and all residents of our community, that your administration is working hard to find answers and possible solutions to your concerns. Council members too have been expressing these similar concerns on your behalf, on the community's behalf. And as you indicated, through the work that Chris is undertaking right now, we're seeing if we can't find or at least understand the situations. What we've recently experienced is new to us. And as Dave was saying earlier, climate change is upon us, and it's impacting us. We will find some answers. They will come forward. They'll be presented to council and the community in due course. We need the time right now, though, to ensure that effective and sensible solutions and recommendations come forward to council. We have an enormous amount of data to go through, and as was indicated both by Renee, I think, and David, that Chris has been pulling information from the community, hearing your calls. I think we've handled a couple of hundred calls, and I know personally Chris has been dealing with many of those people. He's been in people's basements, he's been to people's homes, and he was out on the night of the storm till well at night with senior staff. Contrary to rumor in the community, and it's my understanding, and our experts are here this evening to speak to that, our pumping systems did work as they were designed to. That's not to say that what Renee was saying earlier, that perhaps capacities were exceeded. Certainly when you experience the rainfall event that we did on September 10th, I don't think there's a system out there that's designed to handle that type of rainfall. Members of our staff have been affected by these significant rainfalls as well. Many of our staff members know all too well the grief you've experienced, and we want to assure you that we understand your frustration and your concern. We do empathize. And that feeling of helplessness, and many of us in the room that have experienced, I've had the same situation, not this time around, Dave, but I know what you're feeling. Once it's happened once, it's like, when's it coming again? The rainfall events of September 10th were very significant, and the rainfall that fell in Essex across the community was intense. I know in Essex Centre and in McGregor, it was severe. For about 3 hours that day, between about 3:30 and 6:30, where it appears the vast majority of the rain fell, rain gauges here suggested 3.5 to 4, maybe as much as 5, and I believe some people on our council and others, the amateur climatologists out there can speak to as many as 5+ inches that fell in the region. Historical data, though, at the Windsor Airport, and I reported this to council about a day later, and again, we were working on this file immediately after it happened, but typically Windsor Airport receives 3.7 inches of rainfall in the month of September. That's historical data. That 3.7 is over the whole month of September, and as I just said, we experienced 4 to 5 inches of rain in 3 hours. You can't expect your sewer system or a storm sewer system to handle a month's worth of rain in 3 hours. I apologize for that, folks. We can't expect, when as much as 20% more rain falls in September than do any other month of the year in this part. Certainly weather patterns are changing, and our system was not designed to get a month's worth of rain in 3 hours. Every municipality in the region was impacted by this significant weather event, but it appears the area around Essex Centre was the most severe. Our concern, and I'm sure that of yours, is when will it happen again? A number of us on council and senior administration had the opportunity to attend a presentation here in this very room the day after the event. Timing, maybe in this case, was everything, I don't know, but Kim Gavin, who is the General Manager of Conservation Ontario, was speaking at a regular board meeting of IRCA and the Essex Region Conservation Authority. I attended this session, as did a number of council and staff. Kim began giving a brief explanation of conservation authorities and the role conservation authorities play across the province. IRCA is one of 36 conservation authorities in Ontario. Her presentation that night was called Dodging the Perfect Storm, Reinvestment of Ontario's Flood Management Programs and Services. I picked up a few highlights of her presentation, and that's not to say that we've started on this or embarked on this, but we need to be very aware of this, and I can assure you your administration is. Climate change is creating more frequent and serious events. That was the first clause in her statement. Flooding is the greatest cause of public emergency in Ontario. Water is the new fire. I agree with you, David, that climate change is here to stay, and we have to be better prepared for it. The notion of a task force, I welcome that, and I would certainly want to work with you and members of our senior administration. As to the notion of a lame duck council, lame duck has its own particular connotation. This is not a lame duck council. Under the laws of Ontario, many members will be here throughout, and if more than the majority are not coming back, that's a lame duck. I know it's maybe semantics, but I want to clear that up. The priorities in the flood mitigation that she spoke about that night, that Kim spoke about, is creating more, is addressing the more and frequent events. Floodplain mapping, which is an essential tool in our forecasting, has to be addressed. Chris is working on that right now in trying to establish where these pockets occurred, what were the concerns that occurred in your resident or in your neighborhood, providing support to, in terms of looking at floodplain lands, informing and educating the public, and I know Chris will talk to you about some of the steps that you can take as a community to help empower yourself. Compounding these issues, this is a universal problem, not just one that's germane here in Essex. It's evident that we're experiencing, as I've said, more infrequent severe climatic events. We have aging infrastructure. That's a given. Our infrastructure, as some people have said, I think the systems were divided from a combined system, I believe, in the early 90s, some 20, 25 years ago. They are not the same sewer that you had in the 1960s. That sewer system you had then was what we call a combined, where all of your stormwater entered into the sanitary. We still experience that, and Chris will speak to that in a moment. But other things that are occurring is property values are increasing, and it is becoming harder and harder for people to obtain insurance. We have a growing population and expanded housing development, and we need to continue to plan for that growth very carefully, and that's understood. Renee's comments are heard. With Council's permission, I'd like to ask Chris Nepsey to provide the gallery here the opportunity to gain a bit of an overview and explain our stormwater and our sanitary systems.
Thank you very much, Russ. Is that fine with all council? That we go right to Mr. Nepsey? Okay. Everyone says yes. Oh, David. Yes, sir. Yes, you may.
I think Renee wants to too. We were just a little, thank you for that public announcement, but I mean, there's a few things, Russ, that you say this is not, germane just to Essex. I don't care about the rest of the universe. I care about Essex. I care about what happens in my basement and what continues to happen. I don't care that IRCA puts it out there and this is what's going on. I'm still concerned of what goes on here. I mean, and you talk one other thing about property values. I can tell you and guarantee you that my property value is in the ditch. And I can tell you it's in the ditch because for 4 years, I have been flooding time in and time. I've repaired my basement 3 times. Unbeknownst to me, do I have any insurance? But I can tell you and rest assure you, the property value is decreasing because of what I'm going through. I have to spend all kinds of money again to try to fix my basement, to fix up, and I'm not going to do nothing to my basement until we can come to some resolve. But I can rest assure you, Mr. Nepsky, when I met with him, he did explain the process, and he explained it eloquently. But as he said to me, that he doesn't have a resolve. At that time, he had no resolve to the sanitary. That's a whole separate issue as opposed to what the storm is. And that's what's a little frustrating in your comments. I mean, I'll take the shot back about the lame duck. That's fine. Okay? Thanks, Your Worship.
Ms. Renee?
You got her.
Okay, no disrespect, Mr. Phillips. I understand you have to say what you say. But you said that flooding is new, that this rain is new. It's not new. It's been going on for years. Did I not just say in the second last comment that was sent to me that an environmental assessment 10 years ago stated increased pumping capacity was needed to accommodate future growth? So flooding is not new. You also said the words that really kind of grate at me is perhaps we can do something. And that the rainfall, you don't know if any system can handle this. That is defeat. You are already saying to the people here in Essex, there's not much we can do. There's a lot we can do. And again, I just want to reiterate about what Dave said. We don't care about what happens universally. We care what happens in Essex and our surrounding areas.
Thank you. Mr. Nepsey, please. Okay?
Thank you, Your Worship. David's right. I don't have any results tonight. I don't have an aha moment. I don't have answers for you tonight on what happened and exactly how it can be fixed. So I want to start by saying that. What I want to take you through is similar to what I took Dave through in my office. I spent probably better part of an hour with him, educating him on, what happened that night, what happens when it rains, how the system works, how it's supposed to work in theory, in your homes, in the streets, and to the plant. So I want to take you through that, and then I'm going to take you through what I'm doing And what we're currently working on, and that this council and administration, we are taking action, but it does take time. Unfortunately, it does take time, but we are working on it. So I'll take you through that, and then end with some future options potentially where this may head. So, I mean, everybody knows what happened that night. We got a whack load of rain in a short amount of time. That rain is intense. As Russ noted, 80 to 90 millimeters fell that night. So the better part of 4 inches in the town of Essex. There were some time in that area, like within 15 minutes, we got half an inch of rain. That's unheard of. Now, I know you probably all hear the terms, well, it was the 1 in 100 year storm. It was the 1 in 50 year storm. Well, the sewers are only designed for 1 in 2 years or 1 in 3 years. I want to kind of take you through what that means so you have a better understanding of what that means. It doesn't mean that storm is only going to come every 100 years, because obviously that's not the case. It's a statistics, it's used as an attempt to define that rain event has a 1% chance of occurring in any given year, hence the 1 in 100. So, you know, over the course of 1 million years, the chance of that type of storm happening is 10,000 times. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen today. It doesn't mean that it can't happen again next year. It's statistics. Most storm sewers are designed for a 1 in 3 year storm. And again, that doesn't mean that it's going to happen every 3 years. That means it has a 33% chance of happening in any given year. How that's important is that to note the difference in the ratios. So the storm events designed for the 1 in 3 year, that only, you know, has a 33% chance of happening. That event we had, I'm not sure what it is, Urka's looking into it, but if, you know, you hear the 1 in 100, that those intensities and those statistics are increased. So another important factor for determining that is that 1 in 100 year storm changes based on the data we get. So the 1 in 100 year storm that we're talking about, or the 1 in 2 year storm that we're designing our sewers for, is not the same that our parents are talking about and that their parents are talking about, because they compile all that data as we go, and that continually changes. This council has approved money towards a joint project with Urka, and these are some things moving forward that I know nothing's going to change what happened, but moving forward, to update those curves. So update those numbers, update those statistics, and how that's important to you is that A, for future building and moving forward and design of the system, and B, to fix the system that we currently have. Now I need to know what I need to fix it with. So those stats and those updated data, that's important in knowing the size of the sewer that I need. So what I want to take you through is what happens when it rains. We have 2 separate systems in the town. They're separate. As Russ noted before, in years past, and still in some municipalities, they're combined. So that means the storm water and the rainwater enter with the sanitary water to one system. Ours are completely separate. I have a storm sewer system and I have a sanitary system. I'm just waiting for the screens to pop on here to help. So the storm system, it collects the rainwater. So it collects the sump pump water from your basement. That water's collecting the tiles around your foundations, your footing drains, anything that weeps along your foundation to your base, gets into your sump pump. That's pumped out of your house into a storm sewer lead that goes to the storm sewer in the street. Connected to the storm sewer in the street are the catch basins. Connected to your sump pump line might be your eaves troughs. A lot of the times, I know a lot of people have disconnected them in the back. A lot of time in the front, people have them connected. And you need them connected because you've got sidewalks there, you've got driveways there, and you don't want that water overland on that type of surface in the winter that creates ice and slipping. So that goes into that system. As Dave noted, what happens when it rains, obviously there's rain falling on the roads, on the roof, on the grass. So on the roof, it goes down, to your rainwater leaders. That goes directly to the storm system. The water on the road all sheds to the catch basin, that goes to the storm system. Your sump pump is all pumping into the system. When the rainfall is that intense, as we had that night, those pipes, as noted before, they can't handle it. They're not designed for that intensity of storm. And as Russ noted, the systems in this area aren't. The road is supposed to flood, okay? That's what happens. So, I don't know if you can maybe shut the lights off around here so people can see a little better. So, I'll take you through this. Typical house, I'm only showing one level. Basement, here's the grade outside, grass, sidewalks, road. What I've got now, the red pipe is the sanitary system. So that's toilets, showers, sinks, dishwashers. In theory, floor drains in the newer homes. Some of the older homes I'll touch on later. Some of the older homes, those floor drains, might have gone elsewhere, or you have different connections, but in theory, that's what's supposed to happen. Everything flows through your floor drain, under your house, by gravity, to the sewer in the road, sanitary sewer. The storm sewer, on the other hand, you've got your east troughs, you've got your sump pump, which is collecting everything around your basement walls. You're pumping up into your storm sewer, and it's flowing by gravity then into the storm sewer in the road, which is also connected to the catch basins that you see. When it rains, you and your neighbors and everybody else is pumping into the system. All the rain is falling on your roof, falling into these, going into the system. That gets to this system quickly. It gets there so quickly that it can't handle it. It stops allowing flow to get in there fast. So what it starts to do is it starts to back up on the road. And again, this is supposed to happen. The more you pump in and your neighbors pump in, the higher the level on the road gets. That's okay. That's what's supposed to happen. In theory, the road should be flooded. The question we have to ask is, how is that water getting back into your basement? This pipe here, if the water travels back to this pipe, you have a check valve on your sump pump. It can't go that way. When the builders construct homes, at the property line, they're supposed to backfill in clay. What that does is, when this system surcharges full of water here, these pipes become full of water. These systems aren't perfectly watertight, right? When the water's in there, it wants to go and find its energy level, but it's basically squeezing out of the pipe. So it'll squeeze out of old joints, it'll squeeze out of cracks. If tree roots have gotten in there, it'll squeeze out of those, and it squeezes out into the area around the pipe. Typically, when they bed that pipe, they put stone there. So the stone allows an avenue for that water to get places quickly. It wants to take the path of least resistance. There are cases that we have found, and I'm not saying that in every case, where water has gotten into this trench and finds a way back to your footing, hence your pump is constantly pumping water out. It's not water coming from the pipe, it's water coming from around the pipe. Sanitary system. In theory, the flows in the sanitary system should be the same 365 days a year, minus holidays and weekends. It's a closed system. So it's supposed to, have higher flows at 7 a.m., 6 a.m., when everyone goes to work, has their showers. It dies off during the day when people are home. Or people aren't home, kids are at school, everything. People come back from work, everyone's doing laundry, everybody's doing dishes and whatnot. It spikes again at night, and then it dies during the night. 365 days a year, that should be approximately the same. On holidays, we see spikes. On weekends, we see spikes. The question I'm asking is, during this rain event, our sanitary system was completely surcharged, as many of you know. I'm asking and finding out, how is that water getting into that sanitary system? So, sorry. Is it coming through cross connections, illegal connections? Is it coming through, I know we've found instances where people will take this sump pump and connect it to the sanitary sewer, because the sanitary is taking the water away quicker than the sump pump does when it rains. On most days, that's okay. On days when we get rain like we did, it causes problem for everybody. With the sanitary as well, is water, that system's not, not watertight. When these pipes are surcharged and full of water, is that water getting into this trench and that water finding its way to your basement? Those are questions that we have to ask. So there's a couple things. I'm going to be doing a lot of work, I already have on this. There's some things as a homeowner that I can educate you guys on, and that you guys can make sure that your system is functioning properly. On a lot of the newer homes, and many of the older homes, you have cleanouts in your front lawn. You've got a white cap, an orange cap, some type of cap over a pipe. You should have a cleanout for your storm system, so one where your sump pump is coming. You should have a cleanout for your sanitary system, one where your toilets and your sinks and whatnot are going to. And then what you'll also have is your brass cap for your water valve. So you'll have the three: water, storm, sanitary. There's some things that you can do to make sure your system is functioning the way it's supposed to and that you don't have cross connections, because we've been in homes where people didn't, the previous owner did some wonky plumbing, and they're finding out things that they have that they didn't know. So if you find those caps and pop those caps, run your sump pump, see which one it goes to. Flush a toilet, see which one it goes to. If they're going to the same pipe, you have a problem. They should be their own separate pipes. Another issue that happens, and this is, I know the majority of the issues we have with this rain event were sanitary flooding, but I'm going to touch on, in McGregor areas, we also have some, quite a bit of, and in areas in town, extensive storm sewer flooding as well. What you can do as well is this sump pump pipe, when it pipes and pumps out the wall here, the house shifts, the house moves, so that pipe gets severed sometimes, or broken or cracked, and we found this numerous times. So what that means is, you call me, you tell me, yeah, my sump pump's running, it's pumping water, it pumps all the time. Well, it's pumping out the wall here, it's cracked, some of the flow might find its way into this pipe, some of that flow comes out here, dribbles along in the ground, back to your footing, and you're recirculating your water in a vicious circle. So we've got dye tablets at town, and that's something that you can look at. Pop a dye tablet in your sump pit, run the pump. If dyed water is coming back in your under drains, you know that water is not getting out to the road where it should be. So those are some things that homeowners can look at and help you understand how the system works. As Russ noted, that night, all the pumps were running. Every pump station was running to its capacity. I was out that night. I had my ear to every pump station. I was at all the, making sure that they were all running. They were all running as they were intended to. Aqua was out, Ontario Clean Water Agency. They contract our sanitary and water services at the treatment plants. They were out all night. I was getting updates from them throughout the night. I know a lot of you I've talked to, the road's flooding. That's caused my flooding. The problem is the road water goes away, they don't stay flooded. So they may be slow draining. We've got some old systems, old clay pipe in some town. The water gets away. So, in this case, I don't see that being an issue. So what we're doing on our end is data collection. I've talked to many of you. I don't know your faces, but I know you're on my spreadsheet. If there are some people out there still waiting for a call, and I know there's a few on my answering machine that I haven't returned a call to yet, I apologize. I will get to you. Somebody will get to you. That data is important for me and for us to understand how you flooded, where it came through, if you flooded before. What's also important is the type of house you have, the age of your house. Do you have a raised ranch? Do you have a ranch? Because that all gets into the elevation of your basement. And elevation is key in especially sanitary flooding, because the whole system is based on gravity. I visited a number of your homes. I've been in your basements to clarify the plumbing and to educate homeowners on some of these things. We're working with IRCA, as Russ noted, to analyze the rain data. I've got all the rain data for that night. That's important in finding the intensity and to know what I'm dealing with. We're working with Aqua. Aqua is giving us all the flow and level data at their pump stations. Where the pump, that the pumps were running, what were the flows and levels. Those are important because when I know the levels in the pump stations at the sewage plant, that can help me determine, if you flooded and where you sit with your sewers and your elevations within your street. Backing up a bit, and I know I'm jumping a bit and I apologize, but Dave had noted he wasn't clear on the sewer system on how it worked. Very simply, I guess the town is kind of split around Talbot. So Talbot this way flow to the sewage plant located on North Malden. Talbot to the east, they flow to the pump station by the Batter Bus. There's a little pump station there with a chain link fence, and that flows out to the lagoons down County Road 8. So that the majority of the flooding we saw that night was on this side of town. We have some flooding in a pocket area on the east end or north end, depending on which way you look at the town, but the majority was over here. I've been discussing with builders that built your homes, trying to find out if there's issues with their construction or how they constructed, just to understand, what they did. If there's an area of homes that were hit, we're trying to find out, resolve those, pinpoint those issues. So I have all this data. Again, I'm still talking to people. We're beginning to compile that. So I'm compiling elevations. I'm compiling flow data, level data, rain data. I've been meeting with the consulting engineer. This council at the last meeting allowed me to do that. So I've been meeting with that consultant to come up with the further investigations and whatnot that you're looking for as far as focus areas. It may result in flow testing. It may result in cameraing. It may result in smoke testing. What I ask of you people here is your continued cooperation with the town. If I need to get into your basement, let me in. If you see smoke coming out of a place it shouldn't be, call us, when we do our smoke testing. So that's important because I can't, from your property line to your house is your house, but for me to understand what's going on in your house, I might need to get in there. We're dealing with insurance companies. We're dealing with them to see what we can do to improve our system for ratings. What can we do? What type of programs can we have in place? What do we have to improve the ratings for this area? So once we get all that data and compile it, I will move forward and come forward here with the investigations. I would expect in the next several months. I'll report back to council, report back to you guys as the findings present themselves. These findings may include recommendations on infrastructure. They may include recommendations on bylaws as far as moving forward with mandatory check valves. They may include recommendations on subsidy programs that Dave had brought up and that many councillors have spoke to me about. So, in the immediate future, I'll be working with proactively to provide more information on our website as far as best practices, frequently asked questions, and things that with respect to storm and sanitary and these drainage issues. So, again, I have no answers right now, but we are definitely taking action and working on them. So.